I'm Denise Chaffin, and I'm your podcast host for Talking TA, and we are at Transform 2025, and I am with Paul Walborsky, who's the CEO of OpenWater.
OpenWater, yes. I'm the
Yes.
CEO and co-founder of OpenWater.
Welcome to Transform, of course. And what are you most excited to learn or take away from this event that will probably impact what you do for a living?
A little bit of a selfish answer that I'm going to give. Okay. As OpenWater, I'm building this community of very talented professionals with decades of experience. And these are seasoned professionals, a little bit older. So I am trying to see if the CHROs are thinking of how to embrace an older workforce and take advantage of all the wisdom that they can provide. So part of me is really asking the question to CHRs, are you thinking about this? And if you are, how are you thinking of engaging? That's what I'm really trying to see. That's where OpenWater is, and that's where I want to meet the CHROs here.
Awesome. Do you have meetings set up with them, or how are you meeting them?
Yeah, so we have a lot of meetings set up with CHROs. So we have a lot of CHROs that are coming here. We set up meetings. We're talking to them. We also presented. Today we hosted a workshop. I think over 350 people came, which was pretty large workshop. We presented. It was 90 minutes. And I think we had a full house through the whole workshop. So we're pretty excited about that. So they heard the story. And then we're having one-on-one meetings and telling them that, look, there's a lot of wisdom here with the older professional and they should lean in. In a sense, what I think is we are the secret weapon for corporate America.
Really?
Yes, because we are people who've seen a lot in the past. I call our generation the TCP/IP generation, which is a generation that really started the career when like the protocols of the internet were being created.
That's right.
So we've seen a lot of the technology shifts and we've learned how to adapt, succeed, bob and weave, and lead through these changes. And now with AI, it's even more important because AI is, I think, one of the most disruptive technologies and challenges and opportunities that we're facing. So if you're building a company right now, you do want to like lean into this wisdom that we provide and help the younger generation figure out how to grow. So yeah, so that's a little bit of what we're doing. We're meeting with CHRs and trying to convince them leverage our wisdom.
Yes, leverage our wisdom. I love that. And I love the comparison between the TCP/IP, I guess, start, if you would, and how that was such a huge, well, and you mentioned AI is like this big transformative disruptor, right? Well, so was TCP/IP at the time.
Yeah, TCP/IP was one of a massive disruptor, right?
Yeah.
Because when I started my technology career, the commercialization of TCP/IP was just starting, and that was the backbone of all the technology that you've seen over the last 30 years. Now, I think AI is going to be much bigger than that. I think about it as like electricity. If I had a friend and said, Paul, if I give you electricity, what would you do with it? And I would say I would do everything. And everything is going to be redefined. Every business process, every business opportunity, how we engage as humans with technology can be redefined. And it's a massive challenge. It's super scary, but it's a great opportunity. So I think we're just in the beginning stages of it.
We are. Yeah. Everybody agrees with that.
Yeah.
Everybody agrees, and everybody is making the little shifts right now to just kind of embrace it and kind of introduce it into their companies and, oh, I mean, into every aspect of their life. And Justin Simpson was on a while ago with me, and he talked about some of the conversations that happen today with training the aging workforce or the late career population. And how are we going to upskill those people, right? So that they can continue to work and so that they also can continue
Yeah.
to share their wisdom with people who are
Correct.
newer to career.
And that's a super important issue for the US is how do we upskill this aging population? I mean, there's an interesting statistic that I always share. In the year 2000, there was only 60 million people ages between 50 and 74 years old. Today, there's over 100 million people. That is 1/3 of the US population.
Wow.
And we need to figure out how to upskill. Now, they provide a lot of wisdom, but we need to help them stay relevant, teach them how to leverage AI so they can actually stay productive in the workforce. So it is key. It's not only an issue for the private sector, it's an issue for the public sector, the government.
Yes, you're right. Very much so. So as AI continues to evolve, we're seeing advanced systems that can make decisions and take actions on their own, agentic AI.
Yes.
So how do you see HR and talent acquisition teams adopting these technologies to further integrate AI into the workplace?
It's a great question about how are we going to sort of leverage agentic AI? Agentic AI is going to take time for it to be fully autonomous. So you're going to have what's called human in the loop in the process, but you'll have workflows with agentic AI. So it's going to help HR professionals maybe go through different resumes quicker, really find the nuggets of information that you really want to find inside of a resume. Um, really manage the knowledge of an enterprise to see what's happening, how is the culture feeling, how are people feeling, are they happy, are they motivated, are they not motivated? But through that process, you're going to have to leverage AI, but I think you're still going to have humans in that loop where they can actually say, okay, I think this AI is hallucinating or is giving me the wrong information. Um, it is still, AI is still at that nascent phase that it still hallucinates and it still has the wrong information.
Mm.
So you do have to have an eye of a human that has experience to understand there's an error here. It's actually funny. It's not funny, it's interesting. There was a very good research report by Gartner that they were trying to show which groups within the organization were the most productive using AI. And they found that people who didn't have that much experience, but they used AI, they were not that productive. And the reason for that is because the AI would give them information back. And because they didn't have experience, they didn't understand where their errors were. But if you on the other side, you were the CFO and you had 20 years of experience, you were extremely productive because you can take the financial statements of a company, ask the AI to analyze them, and then they would see, okay, there's an error here. So they can really say, okay, there's an error because I have experience. That's an error. But the AI did uncover interesting tidbits of information that the human eye wouldn't see.
Hmm.
So there's still a dichotomy. The less experience you have, AI could be against your productivity, but if you have a lot of experience, it can really leverage your productivity. So that's an interesting part of how we can actually leverage AI too.
And find the, like you said, find the errors quicker
Exactly.
than you would find on your own.
Yeah. And that's the beauty of it.
Well, and that increases productivity right there and your bottom line.
Exactly.
Imagine.
And you can also ask what I asked my AI. Like I woke up this morning, I got dressed, I took a picture of myself and say, AI, am I dressed correctly? Or do you have any ideas of how I should enhance my outfit? And it did give me 3 or 4 ideas how to enhance my outfit.
But
There you have it. Well, it told me to wear a little handkerchief to like give it a little bit more of a pop.
okay.
So that was great. It told me to wear a watch. So that was great. So it gave me a little bit of that.
Okay, I need to do that.
Yeah.
Which AI tool did you
I use ChatGPT.
and you took a picture of
So you
yourself?
take a picture. It recognizes all of you,
Okay.
recognizes what you're wearing. It also understands the foreground and background, and it can give you information about how you look. And it's very kind. It first says you look extremely smart, but I would enhance the look by doing X, Y, and Z. Now, I say this because we should also have fun with AI.
Yeah.
It shouldn't always be like work. Just have fun. I think if people really want to start using it, just have fun for like stupid things.
Yeah.
We were at a restaurant the other day and we played a game. We asked the AI to rate the outfit of all of our friends. So we went around and rated outfit, and then we said, okay, which one of our friends has the best outfit? And he based somebody won, but it was a lot of laughter. But this is the way that people should start interacting with AI
I love it.
because you don't have to code; you just have to speak to it.
Oh my God, I love it.
It's
That
a
is good.
different world.
But you're taking a lot of pictures though to do this.
Yeah, you take pictures and then you speak this. So what I do, I don't like to write. I'm dyslexic. I think we talked about this.
Yeah.
And because I'm dyslexic, I said, okay, I have to write a whole prompt. What I do is I just put like record. I speak to it. I speak to it to like 5 minutes of what I want to do. It understands what I'm trying to accomplish, and then it brings me the outcome. So imagine how human that process is. We're just speaking to someone about what you want. It understands, and then it gives you back something, and then you can iterate through that.
I love it.
So
That is fabulous. Yeah. So, how do you think that the shift between remote work and RTO or return to office has impacted productivity, collaboration, and company culture?
okay. I might be a little bit different than what's going on right.
That's okay.
I believe that we can work from home and we can be very productive. I think technology has given us all the tools necessary to interact productively with people. So I have Zoom or
Right.
whatever
Video conference.
video conferencing that you want to use. I can do that. I can actually look good in it. I can sort of make sure that I'm looking okay. We've all set our homes so it looks pretty nice. There's AI that we can incorporate into it. We have whiteboards that we can play with and we can collaborate. We can break out into little rooms. So I think for me, we've been doing remote work for the last 10, 15 years, that it's a very natural progression. I do believe that you do need to get the teams together, maybe like 4 times a year, in which you say, here, we meet as a group because we want to build culture. And the culture is what you spend. So you don't create an offsite because we're going to work really hard. You create an offsite of 3 days or 4 days for people to interact and brainstorm with each other.
Sure.
I would also say that you should have enough budget in your company that you would tell every manager, sit and say, if you need to visit someone in person and get on the flight or have a dinner or have a lunch, there is budget for you to do it. So it shouldn't be an impediment. The budget should be there because you're not paying a rent.
Right.
And you're saying just fly wherever you need to fly with your team so you can have a productive meeting if that's necessary. But I do believe that I find that people are more productive when they work from home because they say, I'm going to work really hard for 4 or 6 hours and then I'm going to goof off a little bit. But what I have found is when people go to work, they still goof off for the 4 or 5 hours and they're only productive like 5 or 6 hours. So
It's
I'm a big believer of the work from home. I'm okay. But I also run smaller companies.
right.
So I can't speak to running a 30,000 person company that way. I can speak about running a 200-person company.
Okay, so I run a small company, and I recall, and this came up a while ago. I recall when I was training new recruiters who were working in other states, I had to train them remotely,
Yeah.
and they were part of a remote team. So some people say that we need, though, people who are new to our company to actually be in the office and then have other people with more experience who there to train them, right? Which makes sense, especially for, like you said, larger companies. But even smaller companies, how does training people remotely when they're new impact their careers versus having them on site?
And it's all nuance, right?
Right.
But I think that when you talk about tasks or strategy, and if you need to like just train people on that, you can do that remotely. You just have to make sure that you're consistent and you're doing that on a weekly basis, right? So people know what to expect. So there has to be a cadence to the training. I think those tasks can be done. I think culture is a little trickier. And I think that's when I'm talking that you should have at least 4 times a year that your whole company gets together if you're small enough or a division gets together somewhere. Um, and if you want to get together in smaller groups close to where you live, you should do that to build a culture. But I think a lot of training could be done remotely.
Yeah.
Um,
And that's what these conferences are good for.
Yeah.
And I appreciate what Transform has done. They've created the conversation zone out here. And this is our second year here. And that conversation zone this year is packed compared to last year.
Yeah.
I mean, there was people gathering together as they were coming out of some of the breakout rooms and meetings and whatnot. But I mean, it's just amazing to me how many people are out there this year.
Yeah,
So
look, and I go to a lot of conferences, and I think Transform is one of the best conferences out there. It's produced extremely well. The conversations are great. Given it's a lot of CHROs, they care about culture, they lean in, they do want to network. So yeah, there's a lot of great conversations happening at Transform. This is our second year. The first year we were just a small sponsor, and now we're a silver sponsor.
Yeah.
And it's a great place to meet people, and talk to people about open water, our movement, what we're trying to accomplish, and try to convince them to come on board. So yeah, it's a great conference, and that's the point. So we just launched the Open Water Advisors, and Open Water Advisors for us to help corporate America figure out how they should leverage AI, discover how they can use it, figure out a strategy, figure out a roadmap, help implement it.
I love it.
And the beauty is that a lot of us are business people with good tech backgrounds, but business people who have been leaders and can talk to the C-level well, and we can talk to the board, so we can help them really figure out what makes sense for them and what doesn't make sense. So that's our big move this year. We announced it today, Open Water Advisors, and we have our first council called
Awesome.
a council. So
Thanks,
okay.
Paul.
Was that
Yeah.
okay?
Yeah.